sure where that one too.
This clock is better.
Yep. That's fine. Oh, there it is.
He just wants the gavel.
Yeah, I just really do. It's the one perk of doing this, you know. Go ahead. We'll call this meeting to order. Our second agenda item is the pledge to the flag. We all stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Third agenda item is our mission. Our mission is to encourage everyone to see and be their personal best through successful learning experiences. Become your best. Fourth agenda item, Katrina Henschel will administer the oath of office to individuals who were elected as members of the Board of Education.
Okay. I, Kathy Turner, who have been elected to the office of school board,
who have been elected to the office of school board,
but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof,
but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof,
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office
and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you. Our fifth item on the agenda is I'll need a motion to adopt the agenda and consent agenda as the order of business with identification of items to be taken off the consent agenda for discussion and or separate action.
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 6, I'll need a motion to consider the approval of the consent agenda as adopted. Approve the minutes from March 14th, 2023 Board of Education meeting. Approve the financial report from the period July 1st, 2022 through March 31st, 2023. Approve the bills for the period March 1st, 2023 through March 31st, 2023 in the amount of $1,833,156.67.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
We need all in favor?
All in favor?
Yes.
Moving on to item number 7, Board and District Leadership Team Strategic Planning. Our legislative update from Superintendent Dan Miller.
Yes, once again, the superintendents from the county of Sheboygan meet with our legislators on a monthly basis, and there's also ongoing communication in our entire CISA region, which stretches from Random Lake all the way to the tip of Door County, and we meet with legislators on a regular basis with them as well. So what we're doing there is we had a meeting yesterday in the morning. All of our legislators showed up. We've got a great working relationship, so that's great. They ask us questions about bills that are coming before them that they want our opinion about, and we advocate for things that help kids in public schools and their families. And so currently, what's happening is the governor released his budget, which included a healthy adjustment to our revenue limits across the state, and so that would be a good thing for schools and the kids that attend our schools. The legislature is kind of thinking about those numbers, but everybody seems to be in agreement that there does need to be a positive adjustment, so more money coming to public schools. Is just kind of a discussion about how much. There is the State Fiscal Bureau takes a look at all the numbers in the budget, and they bring those around to listening sessions in the state. We're currently up to the 4th one. Our statewide public school advocacy groups have been showing up to those meetings and advocating for about a $1,000 to $1,050 adjustment upwards to the revenue limit across the state. And so that would be kind of catching up on some things from the past. Whether that happens or not is yet to be seen, but there's also some other issues. There's some flexibility on the start date by a week, maybe going earlier a week is on the table. On the table as well is a low revenue district increase, so the districts like ours that are at the lowest level that you can be in the state of Wisconsin for revenue coming in would get an adjustment upwards, so that would be a good thing as well, so we're advocating for that. And then also some additional special education money coming in, a higher percentage of dollars coming into special education is on the table as well. Those numbers and those expenses continue to rise just like expenses all over. So as part of that, I thought I would just give you a little bit of a background too. We had our representative from Baird came in and talked to us in the past about so many districts in the state of Wisconsin needing an operating referendum to keep up with inflation, to keep up with, their bills over time. So I just did the math coming from the State Fiscal Bureau. These numbers come when the revenue limits were first put in place. It was supposed to be tied to and linked to inflation. It almost never has kept up with inflation over all the years. And just as an example, from 2008 to this year, 2022-23, we have fallen behind inflation by $3,230 per student in that time. Now, during Act 10, that was a big, we got way behind at Act 10. That was a huge cut to education funding. But these last 2 years, actually, when you add them together, zero increase and zero increase, are actually bigger than the impact that Act 10 had on the money available for our kids in this district. All told, our revenue limit, had they kept up with inflation just from 2008, would have been, instead of $10,000 per student, it would have been $13,230. That would have equated to, in this fiscal year, had it been adequately funded, as it was intended to be to start with, our district would have taken in $6,783,000 more. And so when we're making decisions about, and other districts are making decisions about going to operating referendums and doing those types of things, and we're making decisions about maintenance and all of those types of things, if we're adequately funded, as we were intended to be in the first place, those decisions would be focused more on kids and teachers and programming and education instead of making choices between the lights and heat and kids and books and stuff like that. So we keep advocating for adequate funding, and it's a good working relationship. They hear us, and I do believe that they're going to make some adjustments this year. So just a couple of notes about that. Any questions?
Do you know how many school districts are going out for referendum for operating costs?
I know the number that have so far is about 76%. We have gone out for operating referendums twice in the past, but those neither passed, and they were back in the early 2000s.
Okay. 76% can't
Of
be
all
from.
districts.
Of all districts?
Yeah.
It can't be this year, though. That's
No,
gotta be
just over time.
over time.
Yeah.
Do you know how many
I don't.
last couple of years?
I don't.
Oh.
It's on the DPI website, you can look it up, and it pulls out who has them, for how long, and how much.
Yeah. Just wanted to see if there was a comparison against how many school districts are choosing to do that because of the situation they are in. And then, we just discussed our 2022, 2023 budget, and it's really looking quite good right now based upon how we've been conservative and budgeted and things like that. But
Right. We are, our finance team does a great job of being fiscally responsible and making sure that, we're paying the bills we need to pay, but we do end up putting the maintenance and those types of things end up being, the last priority. And so, it's that kind of thing that we end up coming back to at referendums or building referendums sometimes too. And if you remember, when our Baird rep was here, he indicated that the way that the state is currently funding education, since they put the revenue limits in, it's inevitable that everybody is going to have to go to an operating referendum at some point, or, you'd have drastic cuts to whatever your programming would be, just by the graphs don't match up. But the state has a $7 billion surplus this year, so the money's there. So hopefully they distribute it where it needs to be.
Any other questions? Okay, moving on to item number 8, finance, buildings, and grounds. First up, facility update, Superintendent Dan Miller.
Yes, we have a facilities committee in the district that comes together and looks at our O&M plan, which is operations and maintenance. So all the things that need to be fixed, like I just mentioned a couple minutes ago, they're all listed and prioritized, and we make decisions based on if we have money available. I guess this gets to a little bit of that. Some of the things on the docket for coming up shortly, the chiller, which is the air conditioning system for this building, is on order. It is broken. It's on order, but it won't be here till December. So people need to know that. We may be able to limp through at a 1/6 capacity in fall. They're going to find out. They're going to turn it on here in summertime once the weather gets okay and see if they can get that one cylinder to fire again. If not, just to let people know, it's going to be a little warm in the high school at the start of the school year. So more outside class time, perhaps. Another thing, we are doing some work at Fairview to mitigate some water on the east side of the building. That work will begin, some trenching and some French drains and those types of things will be starting in springtime here when the water gets in the right position. The track was, remember, part of the donated facility there. The district we were paying for the track, and then the donations came in and the turf was able to be done and the groundwork was able to be done. Well, the track surfacing itself requires a span of days that are above 50 degrees, coolest temperature of about 10 days to 2 weeks. And so we're the spring has not been helpful to us. We're hopeful to get that track in before the end of the school year so the kids can actually get out there and run on it. But it's kind of dependent on the weather. It was supposed to go in last fall, but we had a company that we originally were working with that was not able to complete their contract, and so this is the second company that we're working with. A cool thing that's coming up facilities-wise, and Sally mentioned it in the committee of the whole, our students in the CTE wing at the high school here are manufacturing and installing an entranceway to Finke Field. So right now the kids are playing soccer on it. We got soccer games in because we've got turf there, which is wonderful. And so they've designed it, worked with the customer, me, redesigned it, and now they're going to build it. It's going to have some brick fascia on the side, some steel, an archway across the top, a big panther paw, and so it's going to be a great project for them. All the manufacturing and welding that they do, it's going to be really nice to see. So that's exciting. And some future things, so when we're talking about funding and money and being fiscally responsible and are having a great financial team, we have a entryway at Horizon that we would like to update, which would include a similar entryway to Parkview and to Fairview. And so that part we would like to update, but it is a pretty high price tag, and so we've got to make sure we have funding available and that we don't have a chiller break like we did this past year. We always have roof work, flat roofs in Wisconsin. It just is an ongoing maintenance issue. And just as of right now in the district, we've got about $400,000 worth of roof work that we need to do. And so we have to make decisions about when we can and when we can afford it without digging too far into fund balance and then having to short-term borrow. So all of those considerations go into making decisions financially for us. However, if we had been adequately funded since 2008, those things would all be done and be getting done right along. So there is an impact to our kids and our communities and our schools by not having adequate funding from the state. So some interesting and fun things going on in our buildings and grounds, and our sustainability efforts continue as well with our grounds and being pesticide and herbicide free. And so all of that is ongoing and a learning experience for us, and we're going to work on having the best looking grounds we can without using pesticides and herbicides and chemical fertilizers. So onward and upward. Any questions?
Nothing for me. All right, we're moving on to consider gifts and corresponding budget adjustments. Dan, is that
Yep,
you?
that is me. Have to find them. Okay, there they are. Right, another thing we're always grateful for with this community is there are always gifts and donations that help kids out on it's a weekly basis. There's something coming in. There's the big things that come in, like the Food Science and Ag Center, and there are the little things like the field trips. And so we're greatly appreciative of all of it, and especially folks out there that are watching, the Plymouth Education Foundation does a great job in fundraising every year for things like scholarships, but also little grants for classrooms to help kids and teachers. So thank you again to the community. So here are a couple of them from this past month. A donation of $366.21 from the Fairview Elementary School PTO for transportation to Speaker's Pumpkin Farm and Little Farmer. There's a donation of $298.05 from Gail Grond to purchase team banners for the girls softball team. There's a donation of $4,800 from the Romps family to purchase a new scoreboard for the girls varsity softball field. And so if you can make a motion to accept those gifts and the adjustments.
Can we get a motion?
I move we accept the gifts and the adjustments.
I'll second those.
And thank you. All in favor?
Yes.
Is that every time? Yeah. Thank you. All right, moving on, item number 9, Academic Pillar of Excellence. We'll be receiving a professional development update from the Director of Curriculum and Instruction, Dina Bedrecki.
Tonight I have Karen Bennett here, and she is going to share some of the professional development that's been going on in our district really the last year and into this year. Karen is a reading specialist at Fairview Elementary School. She has been in the district for quite a few years and is definitely our leader when it comes to reading. She is the one who brought this initiative to the district and has been really instrumental in supporting the teachers who are involved, but also all of our teachers and students when it comes to enhancing our reading in the classroom.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I'm a little nervous. Speaking in front of kids is my jam, but in front of grown-ups is not. But I have to take you back to spring of 2020. It was COVID lockdown. We were all at home, and I was looking for ideas on how I could be reaching kids better virtually. And a colleague, I don't even remember who it was, like, you gotta check out this Facebook group. It's called Science of Reading, What I Should Have Learned in College. So I joined, and initially I was very overwhelmed and really uncomfortable because they were talking about all this stuff that I didn't know about. And I have a master's degree in reading. And it was very, very gut-wrenching, but I stuck with it. And I kept reading posts, and I would order books off of Amazon and read articles and things like that. And I wanted more information. I wanted to be a better reading teacher so I could teach kids how to read better than I was. And this letters training kept on popping up. And letters is LETRS. It stands for Language Essentials for Teachers of Reading and Spelling. And it just kept on popping up and popping up. And I went to Dina, I'm like, I'm really interested in this training. Is this something that we could look into? Could I possibly do it? And she went ahead and gave us the green light, and me and a whole crew of the elementary reading teachers decided to jump in and take the training. It is 2 volumes. The first volume the reading teachers did last year, and we, Stacy's one of my buddies that's done it with me, we loved it. We met every month and talked about what we were learning, and for all of us, oh, I never knew this. Oh, I never knew this. Oh, did you try this with your kids? How did it work out? And so it was like the best training I've ever had. I learned so much. And this year we opened up the training to all of the elementary and middle school staff, and 19 teachers joined us, and they completed volume 1 this year, and we stuck with it and completed volume 2. Next year, of those 19 teachers, 12 people are going to continue on and do volume 2, and we've got 5 teachers who are signed up to do volume 1. So hopefully we can just keep on cycling through, and grassroots, everyone's hearing about it and is wanting to get trained. It's about 55 hours of extra work over the course of the 2 units, because you have to read in the manual, you watch videos online, you take quizzes, being a student again, and you do practice activities with your students in your class. It's been wonderful.
Karen leads our reading meetings, and the conversations are just really rich when they talk about what they're learning and the depth that they're going into, and then how it's being applied to the classroom. So it's been really fun, because we can, on our PD days, we provide lots of different opportunities, but this is something that you really have to have that internal drive to want to do, and it takes up time outside of their day and from their families at night, but they have found it to be really beneficial. And like Karen said, you can go to college and you can learn about the process of reading, but we're always learning new ways and new strategies. So for us to have that group of teachers that are willing to take that time to invest to improve our reading, I think it says a lot about the team that we have.
What's been some of your biggest takeaways in what you've been seeing and being able to apply it to the classroom?
Just for kids, we have to explicitly teach them this letter makes this sound, and be able to them to blend the sounds together to read words. Blew my mind. I was taught, that we look at the words, and if you can't figure it out, look at a picture, maybe use the first sound. And this is much more, okay, here's the letter A, it makes the sound A, and having them practice sounding out words and using the prints to figure out what it says.
Is that more phonics related?
That's one piece of the science of reading movement, if you've heard about it in the news. There are 2 sides of it. It's the phonics and decoding piece is one part of it, and language comprehension is the other part of it. And if you don't have either one, you're not going to be a skilled reader. They have to have background knowledge and vocabulary and life experiences to bring to the reading to have it make sense.
In what areas of what you're learning are we able to implement or change what we're currently doing?
All of the English language arts areas.
Everything?
At the foundational levels, like with our littles, the Ks, kindergarten and first grade, we're taking a much more systematic phonics approach and teaching them those letter sound correspondences so they can decode and read words. And in our second volume, we're more on that language comprehension side, so it's talking about how do you read and understand a narrative text, a story? How do you read and understand a nonfiction text, an informational book? Applying things to writing. So we're trying to make tweaks and lift it all up to be better for the students to implement.
So is this across all the elementary schools, or is this primarily just at Fairview right now?
Across the district, we have teachers in every single elementary building and Riverview who are either in training right now or are completing. So it's not just a Fairview thing.
Yeah. And who's providing the training? Is it more of a state-based or an online training
It's-
center or something?
It's a company called Lexia,
Okay.
and that we submit a purchase order, and they sent us training manuals, and there are online videos that you watch, and there's practicum things that you do with students and reflect and document that online. And
Good. Well, thanks for
it's a
taking.
lot of extra work, but
Yes.
well worth
Yeah,
it.
thanks for taking the initiative, yeah, and doing that.
Thank you.
Very good.
How many volumes are there of learning?
2 volumes. The first volume has 4 units, and in each unit, there are 8 sessions. And then in the second volume, there are 4 units, once again, but only 6 sessions. But it amounts to about, I did the math, it was 55 hours of online coursework that, over the 2 units, not including the stuff that you do in the classroom with your kids. That's just the online part.
Are we aware that are there any other school districts doing similar training?
Yeah, the districts around the state are definitely doing it. I don't know to what extent. But we have really a healthy number of teachers involved, and not our reading teachers as well as our classroom teachers and special education teachers as well. And those are teachers who are teaching, some of our most struggling readers. So it makes sense for them to have a really deep understanding of the concept of teaching reading. So
I know you told us, but how many teachers have gone through the course?
I wrote it down
19.
so I wouldn't forget. All the reading teachers, so there were 5 or 6 of us who have completed volume 1, and then we had 19 teachers who are doing volume 1 this year.
Okay.
Because we talked so highly of it, and, oh, can I do it too? Oh, ask Tina. She said yes. And then of those 19, 12 people are returning to do volume 2 for the next school year. And then 5 new people want to start back with volume 1 that did this year.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that, within a few years, maybe everyone
Okay.
will be willing to take the training because it is so valuable.
Very cool.
Do you have any high school teachers that have done it?
No.
No? Okay. I'm not wondering more so for the basics, but like you spoke of comprehension, which I know that there's still a lot of students in high school that deal with comprehension issues when it comes to reading, so.
definitely.
Yeah, that's definitely
That
something
part
to
of it might be a
consider.
benefit to
Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 10, policy. Consider the approval of the first reading of Neola Policy Updates, Volume 32, Number 1. Janelle?
As I mentioned last week, in early April, Kathy and I, plus Dan Mella and Katrina, all met with Richard from Neola, which is an outside organization that helps kind of summarize all the updates from the state, the governments and all that, to say what the policy recommendations are. And when we met with him, there were a number of technical corrections and some other more substantive changes, and you all received a summary of those changes. I kind of And the two that we really wanted to highlight for our group that were a little bit more meat to them is that we've added in this, or recommend that we adopt policy 3210. It's on staff ethics. We realized in going through all of our policy information that in previous years and with previous superintendent, they had not adopted any ethics policies for the staff. And so this was a recommendation to bring us up to date with other districts. And the other bigger piece that looks very weighty is the section or policy number 5517. It's on student anti-harassment. This one has a number of updates and changes, but these are all recommended to update with the Office of Civil Rights. And we're pretty much told that this is like the state's ruling and what we do need to follow, so there's really not wiggle room, but the highlighted changes are all there to comply with the updated civil rights laws. There are a number of changes that they had recommended, like the staff ethics piece, that there will be a twin of that for support staff that will be probably recommended and updated next year. And rather than updating all of the policies all at once, it'll be piecemeal. So it'll be a similar updates in future to make certain everything's in alignment.
Anything exciting out of all of this? I read through everything. I didn't see anything that was,
Nothing
that really drew my
alarming or
attention.
anything. It's more of little catching of typos and things that they thought, the language just to clarify things a little better over time. Just rephrasing things.
Okay.
I guess we review it today, and then we'll, again, review it again in a month. And so it's not that we officially adopt everything tonight.
Right, tonight's we approve the first reading, and then we just bring it to the board in May for just and then we approve it the second reading. So
Okay.
we'll just come to the board meeting in May.
So nothing I have to do here today.
Yeah, you have to
I do
a
need to approve
motion
it the
to
first time.
approve the
Okay.
first reading.
I'd like to make a motion, or can I get a motion to approve the first reading of Neola Policy Update, Volume 32, Number 1?
So,
I'll second.
All in favor?
yes.
Yes. Moving on to agenda item 11, period of public participation. Recognize those who may wish to address the board regarding items not on the agenda.
I have one person I would like to speak, Ryan Landau.
You just tell them the parameters, you can give them the parameters of 5 minutes.
My name is...
Careful for the court. I don't want you to
What's
try.
that? Oh, okay.
Then state your name and address.
Absolutely. My name is Ryan Mandel. I'm the father of 5 children, 3 of which are currently attending Plymouth schools. We purchased a house last year here in Plymouth on Selma Street. I'm not comfortable giving that full address.
No,
Okay. All right. I'd like to begin with just thanking all of you for giving me some time here. I'm here today because I recently found out that transgender children are allowed or going to be allowed to change in whatever locker room or bathroom they choose. I don't feel that this is right. My girls are talking about dropping out of sports as they approach high school and fear that they may have to be naked side by side with a biological male while changing for gym or getting ready for a swim meet. What if any requirements are required for a biological boy to be using the women's facility? Do they have to be going through gender reassignment procedures, whether it be hormone therapy or surgery? Can any boy walk into school tomorrow and say, I feel like a girl now, and start using the women's facilities? I'm not going to stand here and bash anyone that's going through gender dysphoria. I do think that it is a very complicated mental battle to go through and should not be taken lightly. I don't think most minors are capable of making good choices when it comes to decisions that alter the rest of their life. My children need to be reminded to grab their backpack on our way out the door, keep their room clean. They need help controlling their emotions at times. I would never allow them to change their sex as a child. Just like as a society, we would never allow a minor to get a tattoo, buy tobacco, buy alcohol. These choices simply have ramifications that minors cannot comprehend at such a young age. I think that if the school is going to support gender dysphoria, the least they can do is keep from throwing it in the faces of all the other children. Bare minimum, I believe there should be at least separate facilities for trans kids to use. My and many other people's children should not have to consider dropping out of sports, changing schools because a very few think they're different. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's it.
That's it. Okay. Thank you, Ryan. We'll move on to item number 12, board liaison reports. Sally is not here for community ed. Anything you want to mention?
I'll just mention that there's always a ton of things going on that you can sign up for in community ed. Our facilities are used all the time. Up till 9 o'clock, there are walkers in here and people were using the weight room facilities, and some people are using the weight room at 5:30 in the morning. So there's a great number of things. Get on the website, check it out, and sign up for any of the interesting activities or cool classes that we have. I think that's what Sally would say.
Well put. Moving on, Bob Travis isn't here regarding the Plymouth Foundation. Anything you want to mention there?
Just mentioned again from before, very grateful to the community because the foundation does great work raising money for kids, for their scholarships, and for teachers, and the district for updates and upgrades. So thank you to the foundation. It's awards season, so they're currently in the throes of reading a lot of applications for scholarships. So it takes a lot of time, and they do a great job of it. So again, thanks to them.
All right, thank you. Moving on to the Family Resource Center, that's me. We had our annual kind of like internal meeting to discuss kind of the state of the Family Resource Center and what we want to do in the future. I was not able to attend, but I did want to discuss a few of the things from the summary area of the meeting minutes. So just so the board is aware of kind of what the goals are of the Family Resource Center for. So specific, or the whole entire Family Resource Center as a whole, there's really 4 goals that they pointed out at the meeting. Program awareness, which is Family Resource Center will increase visibility in the Sheboygan County community by 2024. Goal 2, revenue streams. So FRC programming will be sustainable by diversifying revenue streams through creating a fundraising plan by 2024. Goal 3, staff engagement. Family Resource Center will establish an employee retention program by 2024. And goal number 4, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Family Resource Center will implement a diversity plan with all program operations and staff board training. Moving more individually to, there's really 2 programs run by the Family Resource Center. One is Parents as Teachers, and 2 is the Literacy Council. Both areas, we'll start with the Parents as Teachers, have 3 goals. Goal 1 is mental health. All parent educator staff will access additional infant mental health trainings to support their families by 2024. Goal 2 is innovation. Parents as Teachers will have an established blended virtual and in-person model by 2024. And then goal 3, expansion growth. FRC will establish a 3rd tier of Parents as Teacher programming to support families up until their children are 5 years old by 2024. Moving on to Literacy Council, Goal 1, revenue generation. Literacy Council's workplace literacy program will be self-sustaining by 2024. If you remember a few, maybe 6 months ago to a year ago, we are trying to work on a kind of a innovative program that we work with community businesses to help kind of guide them and provide tutors and staff to help teach their employees a second language, in English in this example. Innovation, Literacy Council will have an established one-on-one tutoring program with an in-person and virtual model by 2024. Goal 3, growth expansion. Literacy Council will have a family literacy plan completed for FRC staff and board review by July 2022. So that is my report. Moving on to CISA 7. Bob Travis, any update?
Any update on that?
Okay.
So last year, I believe Kathy was on our CISA 7 in
Right.
the past. I don't know, do you want to appoint a CISA 7 delegate or else that's what we do?
Okay. Janelle, are you still interested?
Or, oh, is it Jen? I thought it was Kathy.
Oh, Kathy?
Kathy, I think.
Yeah, go
It
on.
wasn't me, no.
Yeah, I'm fine doing it again.
Okay.
You don't need to do a motion or anything like that.
Just that easy. Congratulations. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 13, personnel.
Yes, we have a number of personnel things. I'm going to kind of break it down into little sections that we'll need to have approval for. We'll start with some teacher or some retirements, and then we'll go into some resignations, and then we'll approve some contracts. We'll approve a leave of absence, and then we'll approve a tentative agreement for the teachers group. Okay? So we'll start with the first two, which are the board will consider the retirement request from Christine Vetter, physical education teacher at Parkview Elementary School, effective at the end of the 2022-23 school year. Christine has been with the district for 25 years. And the other retirement would be, the board would consider the retirement request from Kurt Schultz, alternative education teacher at Plymouth High School, effective at the end of 2022-23 school year. Kurt has been with the district for 5 years. So you might take those retirements first.
Okay. Can we make a motion to accept the retirement requests from Christine Vetter and Kurt Schultz?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, the next would be some resignations. The board will consider the resignation of Jason Cole, principal at Parkview Elementary School, effective at the end of the 2022-23 school year. Jason has been with the district for 2 years. The board will consider the resignation of Michelle Gudex, fourth grade teacher at Fairview Elementary School, effective at the end of 22-23 school year. Michelle has been with the district for 1 year. The board will consider the resignation of Hannah Myers, school psychologist for the Plymouth School District, effective at the end of the 22-23 school year. Hannah's been with the district for 4 years. And the board will consider the resignation of Brian Hubeck, sixth grade teacher at Riverview Middle School, effective at the end of the 2022-23 school year. Brian has been with the district for 3 years. The board will consider the resignation of Amanda Konchelik, special education teacher at Riverview Middle School, effective at the end of the 22-23 school year. Amanda's been with the district for 5 years. And finally, the board will consider the resignation of Nicole Latow, seventh grade teacher at Riverview Middle School, effective March 27th through March 27th, 2023. Those would be the resignations.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the resignation of, do I need to say each one?
No.
No.
The resignation.
The resignation of the personnel?
I move we accept the resignations.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, the next step is some contracts to approve. The board will consider the approval of a limited-term contract for Phil Harder to be a special education teacher at Riverview Middle School for the remainder of the 22-23 school year. And the board will consider the approval of a 100% contract for Emily Klotzbach to be a special education teacher at Fairview Elementary School, beginning with the 2023 school year, 2023-24 school year. Emily received her bachelor's degree from the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh. Go Titans. This will be Emily's 8th year of teaching. Those are the contracts.
Okay. Can we make a motion to accept the approval of the limited and 100% contract?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
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 The next is a single item. It's a leave of absence. The board will consider a 1-year leave of absence for Andrea Alvarez, 5th grade teacher at Riverview Middle School for the 23-24 school year.
Can we get a motion for the leave of absence request for Andrea Alvarez?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
And the last is for the board to consider the approval of the tentative agreement reached between the School District of Plymouth and the Plymouth Education Association as to total base wages for the 22-23 school year. And that number is 4% on the initial contracted level for a brand-new teacher.
Can we get a motion to consider the approval of the tentative agreement reached between the district and Plymouth Education Association as to total base wages for the 2023-2024 school year as defined at 4% for starting base wage?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
We do have some support staff updates. No action needs to be taken on these, just information. So we have Jennifer Taylor has resigned as a special education aide at Riverview Middle School. Carl Stolen has resigned as a custodian at Horizon Elementary School. Stephen Hildebrand has resigned as a custodian at Riverview Middle School. Tammy Risler has submitted her retirement as a special education aide for Plymouth High School. Tammy's been with the district for 27 years. Bruce Bear has been hired as a custodian at Riverview Middle School. Joshua Schick has been hired as a special education aide at Riverview Middle School. And Justin Enderby has been hired as a network and computer technician. So no motion required on those. Welcome to the district, and thank you for the service of all those that are leaving.
All right, moving on to item 14, items from the consent agenda, requests for separate discussion or action. There were no such items. We'll move on to item number 15, which is the president report. Today's topic is around the idea of perception versus reality. I talked a little bit about that, I think, a few meetings ago. A lot of times I speak in words of my opinion is, or my perception is on subjects, and because it's my opinion, it's my perception on a topic. So if we roll back the clock a little bit, I met I'm not sure which church I was at. Anyway, I'm in the career of selling solar systems, and I met a pastor at a church, and his name ended up being Richard York, and unbeknown to me, he was the school board president at the time. And as we discussed about my kids, and I was a neighbor of his to the church, and we discussed kind of my perception on the subject about that too much money was being spent on athletics and not as much being spent on necessary school updates and also things that supported academics. And that was back in 2018 with the referendum, right? So reality was that time passed and the referendum came up, and I believe around 70% of the voting public thought I was a moron, and the referendum easily won, right? So that was my perspective. It definitely wasn't the overall opinion of our population. So 4 years have passed, and the reality is that I still have much to learn. So a couple thoughts. How many times has my perception of a situation within our school district changed once I was under the understanding of the details within the events? And then I think, how many times has my perception changed after remembering to put myself in someone else's shoes? Likely more than I care to admit, right? My opinion on subjects and decisions that our school board makes should be based upon our own life experiences, the public's opinion, and the core mission of this district, right? And we talk about what our mission is at the beginning of every board meeting, and it's actually kind of stuck with me finally. So our mission is to encourage everyone to see and be his or her personal best through a successful learning. Experiences become your best, right? Pretty simple. There's not much to it, period, right? So when I think about that, the school board and district leadership team are completely committed to overcoming adversity, right? So over time, we've seen, since I've been on the board, we've dealt with COVID, superintendent retirements during COVID, revamping a graduation, getting back to school during a pandemic, masks, quarantine to slow the curve, state test scores, readjusting our school board calendar to look at state, test scores and formative test scores, and creating an agenda that really is more aligned with things we really need to be discussing, the core items. We conducted public surveys. We answered questions in a prompt manner to those public surveys. We've discussed really difficult subjects, transgenders, furries, bathroom usages, and another subject called CRT, right? A lot of this, I think, has gone in the past, but the reality, our perception on all these topics will be definitely diverse, right? Mine is, and I think everybody here on this board is. But my perception is that our school foundation is solid, and as a community, we will overcome. And our goal is to make this a reality. So that's my president's report. Moving on to the superintendent's report. Danielle.
Thank you. Just a couple notes, looking out into the future. A lot of great things are happening here, as you know, and I'll report about a couple of student and staff accomplishments as well. But one of the things that we've talked about in the past and continue to do so is that we also partner not only with our local businesses and our industry. We also partner very closely with our service providers, our police, our fire, our local churches. And so that happens in a lot of different ways. And so sometimes we always are worried about, what do we need? We think inward about what our needs are. But the suggestion was made that we should think outward a little bit here too, and maybe there's some help in all of this. And so what we're doing is we're offering free lunch or breakfast to service providers who come over, park their fire truck outside, park their police squad outside, county sheriffs, local police, come on over to our buildings, come in, go through our office, say hello, and have lunch with our kids, and just be there. So sometimes we need to think about giving back to the other people that provide services to the community, and this is one of our ways that we're looking to do that. So that's a new thing coming down the pike. Some of the great things that are going on in the district, right now today we had 50 students down at the FBLA state competition, so that is fantastic. Our FBLA has grown tremendously. Our career and technical education areas in our district have been an example to many throughout the state for quite a while now. In business, maybe was a little later to that game, but we've got the staff in that area have it really humming now too, so that's great. And to show that, we've got Howard Suamico, which is a pretty wealthy big district up north of Green Bay. It's coming here on Friday to tour our CTE areas and what we do, and most importantly is to talk to our staff, because people finding and keeping staff in those highly sought after positions has become extremely difficult, and we've kept ours relatively intact for quite some time now. I should knock on wood when I say that, but so we're having a district come down and not just to our facilities, but really dig into what makes our programming successful in those areas. So that's kind of a cool thing as well. Something from the elementary, you just heard Mrs. Vetter is going to be retiring at the end of the year. Well, from the American Heart Association, Christine has been really, her words were, fierce in supporting the American Heart Association. And together with Christine Vetter, they've raised over $15,000 for that association. So congratulations to them. At Riverview, the GT Consortium went up to CESA 7, which is our big region, and went to St. Norbert's College to discuss all things climate modeling, the whole AI stuff that goes along with it. It was really a great thing for that group of students. And they also visited LTC for a career exploration field trip. Again, career and technical education, career in general is a constant focus, and it just doesn't start at high school in this district. It starts in third grade, really. And some things from the high school, and some other spots too. The FFA also qualified 38 events at the state competition, which is going on right now up in Green Bay. The Plymouth FFA qualified all 6 of its career development event teams for state competition later this month. Again, the theme, career development. It's always a focus. The PHS Culinary Arts students won 2 contests. You know anybody?